Ethan, a normal salaryman, just moved to a new apartment in a city. He just has been through a breakup and wants a fresh start, but even he doesn't know what upholds for him in the future. The place he moved in was quite affordable and also enough spacious for him to live comfortably. The only person who had lived beside him was his neighbor, an old lady. She was very nice to him and also helped him settle in the stuffs inside. On the first night, Ethan heard some voices outside of his room and footsteps. When it was definitely really late, he ignored it as it was very late. The next day, around the same time, he woke up from his sleep and saw the door was a little opened up, but he was sure he had closed it. Behind the door, he could spot a shadow standing still and cold. He called Grandma Ellie, but there was no response. He tried to get up from the bed to check, but when he looked at the door again, it was locked. A few days later, Ethan would find the stuffs or objects in his room peculiarly on
different places than where he had left them before going to work. One night, Ethan, doing some work on his laptop, heard a knock on his door and moved to open the door. Upon reaching the door, he feels a chill running down his spine. He stopped for a second, but then opened to find a cup of tea near his doorstep with a note written.
Don't stay awake this late.
He presumed it was Grandma Ellie, and he drank the tea. The taste was a bit strange to him, but he ignored it. One night, Ethan heard a voice from the kitchen where he found Ellie sitting on the chair and singing a lullaby. When she noticed Ethan, she smiled at him strangely and told him,
You shouldn't wander this late, dear. It's not safe.
Ethan was confused as to why she said that. When he blinked, she was gone suddenly. Ethan bamboozled. He was having nightmares regularly, and due to all these strange happenings, he went to ask the landlord about the apartment, also old Granny Ellie. At first, the landlord stared at him strangely. Then he started speaking.
Are you talking about that old lady Ellie who died in the fire accident on the apartment 4 years ago? Ethan stood there with a shocked face. He couldn't utter a word. He felt his breath becoming heavy, thinking how this could be possible when the first time he arrived there, he saw the lady in her room knitting and also helped him settle the stuffs in the room. Ethan that night slept with his room locked and lights on. But after a while, he woke up to a strange noise. In his room, he heard some scratching on the floor, but it was pretty dark. When he looked carefully, it was Grandma Ellie, with some burnt marks on her body, trying to scratch the floor with some sharp object. Ethan couldn't scream, nor move. His body stayed in his bed like a stone as he was looking at her. After a few seconds, Ethan felt a hand on the opposite hand, and immediately looked that way as he saw that ghostly face of Ellie, which was burnt half of her face. She had those white, dim eyes with jaw so down off the face that it reaches her chest. Her dress had dry blood spots and many open scars. She looked into Ethan's eyes and screamed,
Why did you not listen to me?
Ethan broke his silence, suddenly moved out of his position, where he saw that it was just an empty room with no Grandma Ellie in it. Ethan's head was spinning. He quickly got up and looked towards the mirror where he saw Grandma Ellie's face on his reflection. He moved back and everything was normal. He started going toward the door, but the door started banging from outside. Ethan got scared and moved back. Suddenly, 2 hands grabbed his neck and started to pull him from behind. Without looking back, Ethan ran toward the door. He opened it and looked outside where there was no one. But he heard some banging noises and looked towards that direction to find out that Grandma Ellie's ghost was banging her head on the door while whispering some chants. Ethan immediately shouted, started running towards the lift. The lift wasn't opening, so he thought of taking the stairs down, but he felt a small push from behind, while a whisper on his ear saying,
You should have been careful.
and Ethan fell down the stairs.